When it comes to electric cars, apparently there has been a rule made that they have to look awkward, futuristic, and even sometimes ugly. Well, there are a few electric cars out there that are breaking the rules, and 2 of them come from Genesis. No, not that one. That one still looks a little awkward. I'm talking about this one. My name is Omar, and this is the Genesis G80 Electrified, or Electrified G80. Why didn't they just call this the G80 Electric? I don't know. I guess that would have been too simple. So, the Genesis G80 Electric, that's what I'm calling it. This is one of the 3 electric cars that Hyundai's luxury brand is launching this year. I've already tested the not so normal looking GV60, and you can check out that review if you want, but besides that one, we have the GV70 Electric and this, alright, I'll say it, Electrified G80. Now, I haven't driven the electric GV70, so this is technically my second electric Genesis experience. And I gotta say, this is already a better experience. Not only does this have more range than that hatchback crossover looking EV, this actually feels pretty normal. In my experience, the biggest barrier to getting an electric car is that they feel so out of the norm. Charging and range anxiety already make it difficult, but when you make an EV look totally different and put an interior that's somewhat confusing, that turns a lot of people away. And that's what I like most about the electrified G80. This is an awesome, luxurious G80 sedan first, and then it does the electric thing. Now, Genesis, like most other luxury brands out there, plans to go fully electric by 2030. And I like the fact that they are doing it by making their already popular and normal luxury vehicles electric. So, is the electrified G80 something that you should consider over a base Tesla Model S or the upcoming Mercedes EQE? Let's find out. Let me give you a quick tour of the electrified G80. We'll talk about the electrified part of it. We'll take a look at the normal looking exterior and the normal feeling interior. And then I'll give you my opinion on whether or not if you should consider buying the G80 Electric if you're in the market for an EV. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe. All right, let's do this. All right, let's kick things off with the electric part, and let's talk about the power, the range, and how long it will take you to charge the electrified G80. Let's talk about power first. The electric G80 here has a dual motor setup, so you do get all-wheel drive as standard. You get a total of 365 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. In comparison, the GV60 Performance, the fastest one, makes 429 horsepower, but it makes 446 pound-feet of torque. But if you push the boost button on the GV60, you'll get a total of 516 pound-feet of torque like the G80 Electric here. This doesn't have a boost button, so this is always making 516. As for 0 to 60, the electrified G80 here will do it in 4 seconds flat, which is the same as the GV60 Performance. And this is the quickest G80 that you can buy. Even the G80 Sport can't keep up with this. That will do 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. But don't forget, the fastest KTM electric car title will belong to the Kia EV6 GT, which will do 60 in 3.5 seconds. Either way, on a full charge, this will do a total of 282 miles. Now that makes this the highest range electric Genesis that you can buy right now. The GV60 can do a max of 248 miles on a full charge. Of course, you can also go for the rear-wheel drive Ioniq 5, which will hit 303 miles, or the rear-wheel drive EV6, which will hit 310 miles. But yeah, that range of 282 miles is pretty impressive for an all-wheel drive EV sedan. Let's talk charging times, and yes, just like its other electric cousins, the G80 Electric also supports up to 800-volt multi-rapid charging, which works on DC chargers with speeds ranging from 50 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts. By the way, I absolutely love the location of this charging port, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So if you find a DC fast charger giving you the fastest charge this thing is capable of, you can go from 10 to 80% in just 22 minutes, which is really impressive. Now, if you have a level 2 home setup, the G80 Electric here will go from 10 to 100% in 7 hours and 22 minutes. And if you don't drive much and decided, hey, I'll just charge this through a regular outlet, that will take you a long 80 hours or a total of 3.3 days to go from 10 to 100%. I actually wonder if there are people like that out there. Now, pricing wise, we're still waiting for Genesis to announce official numbers, but expect this to start around $75,000 to $80,000, which will make this the most expensive G80 that you can buy. However, at that price tag, the electrified G80 isn't playing around because everything is essentially standard. Let's start off inside, and just like the regular G80, this interior is exceptional and very, very luxurious. However, that said, there is a little bit of a downside with going for the electric G80. Now, once I got in here, I instantly felt that I was sitting a little higher than usual and definitely felt the difference between the regular G80 and this one. And that's because Genesis had to raise the floor to make room for the battery. Due to that, the headroom in the front has shrunk by 0.8 inches and 1.5 inches in the back. And at this point, you're probably thinking, why isn't there a glass roof here like in most other EVs? Well, that's because in other parts of the world, the electrified G80 has a solar panoramic roof that we won't be getting here in the United States. So yeah, you don't have any outside lighting coming into the G80 Electric in the United States. Not only that, second row legroom takes a hit as well. The G80 Electric will give you 36 inches of legroom in the second row, whereas the gasoline-powered one will give you 38 inches, so you lose 2 inches. Now, I'm about 6 foot tall. That is my seating position. As you can see, it's still pretty comfortable. It's still pretty spacious, so you can sit back here for a long drive. The only thing I will say is that the floor still feels pretty high. And that's not the only place the G80 Electric loses some space. Pop open the trunk and you're working with 10.8 cubic feet of space. The regular G80 gets 13.1 cubic feet, so yeah, you lose some space to make room for that battery. Now that said, the rest of the interior game is pretty strong. Like I said, at this price tag, everything is standard and it feels very luxurious in here. It's definitely more luxurious than the GV60. Everything in here is covered in leather or leatherette or other soft touch materials. You have these extremely comfortable seats that are wrapped in Nappa leather. The driver's seat is 16 power-way adjustable and the passenger seat is 12-way power adjustable. Not to mention, the G80 Electric comes standard with heated and cooled seats, as well as the Genesis Ergo Motion seats, which is their version of massaging seats. Now you don't get heated rear seats, which not sure why, but you do have this rear shade control to block all the hate coming in from the back, and you also have side window peasant blockers. The G80 Electric also comes with a heated steering wheel as standard. By the way, the electric G80 decides to keep the old looking steering wheel instead of going for the new one that you see on the G80 Sport. Nonetheless, this is a power tilt and telescopic steering wheel, so that's good. HVAC wise, you're working with the 3-zone climate control in here, so front passengers and rear passengers can enjoy their own zone. By the way, I just have to stop and say that I'm really digging this navy blue and white two-tone color in here. It looks super luxurious and really nice. The only thing that I'm not crazy about is this trim. It's got this weird marble design that looks a bit busy. But yeah, everything is very elegant in here. The door panels, the dash are wrapped in leather or leatherette, and everything else just feels really well put together. And I think I'm one of the few people out there that likes these controls in the center console. For the gear selector, you have a rotary dial, and you also have a dial to go through your infotainment system. But yeah, even though the seating position is a little high, it's still a nice and comfortable place to sit. All right, let's talk about the tech in the G80 Electric, because this has everything that Genesis has to offer. As standard, you get a 14.5-inch touchscreen display. It's absolutely huge and it's very sharp and crisp. Now, if you're familiar with the Genesis infotainment system, this is very similar to those. You've got a home screen, and once you swipe left, you can go through and dive in different sections. And like other Genesis models, you do get wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as standard. You also get a native navigation system as well, but who even uses those? I just use Google Maps and Apple CarPlay all the time. Now, since this is electric, you do have an EV screen where you can go in and learn more about your range and your setup. You can also go in and set up your vehicle to load functions, where you can go in and set up your charging or power for bigger electronics, and you can also charge another EV. And while we're here, let's talk about the driver assist tech, starting with the camera game. You obviously have a rear view camera, no surprise there, but you also get a 360 view camera as well as a 3D camera, which looks really sharp, and you can just sit there and circle around your electric G80. You also get adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist with lane centering, you get blind spot monitoring, and a bunch of other collision and assist tech. The G80 Electric also gets a smart parking assist system, where this thing will actually automatically park itself. And of course, as a part of that smart park system, you can move the G80 Electric back and forth with your keys while standing outside. Oh, and I totally forgot, the G80 Electric also gets a heads-up display, so yes, safety-wise, you're pretty well stacked. Moving on, the G80 Electric also comes standard with a 12.3-inch digital instrument display. It's got a lot of information here you can circle through. It has some really cool drive mode animations. It's not as advanced as, say, as Mercedes-Benz's system, but it is still pretty informative. I really like those cool animations. By the way, another driver assist tech that I forgot to mention earlier were these blind spot cameras that you have right here. These are my favorite. And like other Genesis models, you can actually have this gauge cluster be 3D, which is a pretty cool gimmick and looks really cool. Sound system wise, you're working with a 21 speaker Lexicon sound system that sounds absolutely amazing. By the way, I didn't know that Lexicon is a part of Harman, and if you didn't know, now you do. Let's take a look at the exterior design of the G80 Electrified, and yeah, it's no different than the regular G80. The only major difference is the front end, where you have a closed off version of the Genesis signature grille, since there isn't an engine that needs any cooling. And I gotta say, I feel like this closed off version of the grille looks much better than the open one. They did a great job with this. And again, the best part is that the charging port is hidden within the grille, and when it's closed off, you don't even notice that it's there. That's a really cool placement. Other than that, it's pretty much G80, and that's the best thing about it. Automakers are trying to make EVs look super futuristic, and a lot of people really don't want that. They just want a regular looking car that's also electric, and the G80 Electric does a great job at that. By the way, the G80 Electric does get a different set of wheels. You have 19-inch wheels that look pretty luxurious, nothing too crazy or too EV looking. Now, before I give you my opinion on how the G80 Electric drives, let me point out a few important daily ownership highlights that I'd love to show all of you. You've got 4 cup holders, 2 in the front right there, and then you've got 2 in the back in that center armrest. Here are what the keys look like to the G80 Electric, same old Genesis key. You won't need this because you do have the digital key where you can use your smartphone or the card that comes along with it, but you will need this if you want to use Smart Park, like this, where you can use your key to pull in and out of tight parking spots. Door open and close sound from the outside. By the way, the G80 Electric is one of the few EVs that has soft closed doors because that's important. And from the inside, very solid. Charging game-wise, in the front you get 2 USB-A ports and a wireless charger, no USB-C ports in here. Those sitting in the back also get 2 USB-A ports in the center armrest. Let's do an indicator and horn sound test. Indicator first. Same old Genesis, Hyundai, Kia indicator. Now for the horn sound. Let me open the window a little bit. All right, now for the horn sound. Very solid. I like it. Now, I totally forgot to mention this in my intro, but as of right now, you can only order the electrified G80 if you live in California, Connecticut, New York, or New Jersey. Production delays have delayed the availability of this thing, but Genesis does plan on offering this nationwide. So, how does this drive? It's pretty normal, honestly. Driving this around for a week, I almost forgot sometimes that I was driving an electric car. Again, this feels like a G80 first and then it does the electric thing. And that's not a bad thing at all because the G80 itself is already an insanely comfortable and smooth sedan. The way this moves, rides, and handles is all G80. Honestly, the only difference you really feel is the higher seating position. It does feel a bit awkward at first, but you eventually get used to it. Yes, the trunk space and the rear legroom get cut down a little, but if you can live with that, this is an amazing addition to the EVs that you can buy right now. Again, Genesis quotes the range at 282 miles. Now, I charged this from 35% to 100%, and at the end, the range read 326 miles. Now, after driving around for a bit, it eventually adjusted itself to 314 miles, but it stayed there. So, under great conditions and if life works out perfectly, you should be able to top 300 miles on a full charge. Now, while this does weigh around 500 pounds more than the regular G80, it moves a lot quicker. Again, this is the quickest G80 that you can get, doing 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat, which makes it even faster than the G80 Sport. You've got 3 drive modes, including Comfort, Sport, and Eco, and let's just do a quick acceleration test from 50 to 70 miles an hour. I'm in Comfort right now. Oh, and 70. Not bad. Now let's pop it into Sport mode. Go back down to 50 miles an hour. Go. Oh, that's much quicker, already at 70. Now let's do Eco. Go back down to 50 really quick. And yeah, it just feels like you lost 100 horsepower from that 365. But honestly, I don't think anybody buying a G80 Electric will dance around in different modes. They'll just enjoy the extremely smooth and comfortable ride quality. Honestly, when I say this thing is smooth, I really mean it. This thing just glides over bumps and imperfections on the road with a lot of ease. I feel like the G80 deserves more street cred, but I think people will eventually catch on and see what they're missing. Now, do I recommend this over the Tesla Model S or the Mercedes EQE? Well, that depends. If you want an electric sedan that comes as loaded as this for around $75,000 to $80,000, then yes, the electrified G80 is an outstanding and competitive option. However, the Tesla Model S is still the leader in terms of an overall EV package. The Mercedes EQE, well, I haven't driven it, so I can't say much about it, but word on the street is that it should start around $80,000, so that will be an interesting option as well. I'm honestly really excited to see where Genesis goes from here. I'm looking forward to testing the GV70 Electric or Electrified GV70. I just can't get over the way they did the whole naming thing here. Would it have been so hard to just call this G80 Electric, GV70 Electric, and eventually G90 Electric? That would have been much more simple. Either way, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. My handle is @OmarDrives. I'll catch you guys at the next one. Take care. Peace. I feel like here's how the meeting went when they were naming this thing. So they were like, what should we call this? And somebody said, the G80 Electric. Another person said, no, that might get too confusing. Another person said, no, it wouldn't. It's an electric G80. And that person said, no, it's an electrified G80. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's go with electrified G80. Why? I don't know. Why do automakers do these things?